At 8:47, the file landed on Karen Hartley's desk. She opened it. The defendant's name stopped her cold.
I spent your college fund, Karen. Dr. Joseph made me beautiful again.
10 years earlier, in a cramped dorm room, Karen heard those words over the phone. Her acceptance letter slipped from her fingers. Now, at 29, Karen Hartley was a litigator. The name on that old complaint had found its way back to her desk.
10 years of student debt, of night shifts, all because of him. And now he's on my desk.
The complaint detailed a mid-face lift gone catastrophically wrong. Permanent nerve damage. A 38-year-old woman unable to smile. Karen scanned the file. 14 prior complaints. Off-label use of dermal fillers. Unsupervised residents performing delicate surgery.
A pattern of negligence. And he's been getting away with it for over a decade.
She closed the file with a snap that echoed through her office. This wasn't just a case.
10 years ago you took my future. Now I'm going to take everything you have.
James Bennett was waiting in the conference room when Karen walked in. He slid a thick file across the polished table.
This one's yours if you want it. Pattern of negligence, 14 complaints, and a plaintiff who can't afford to lose.
I want it.
Do you know the defendant? Something in your face.
It's personal. But that won't affect my work.
That afternoon, she drove to the neurorehabilitation facility where Elena Vasquez was learning to speak again. The right side of Elena's face drooped. One eye wouldn't close. She sat stiffly in a wheelchair, a silk scarf hiding the scars.
You're the lawyer? They said. Someone would come. I can't smile. My daughter draws pictures of me with a smile. This is what his hands did, and my mother paid him to do it to her. I'm going to make sure he never hurts anyone again.
But 10 years ago, Karen Hartley was not a litigator. She was 18, holding a letter from the University of California, her future spelled out in black ink. Then her mother walked in, face still bandaged from surgery, carrying a glossy clinic brochure.
I spent your college fund, Karen. Dr. Joseph made me beautiful again.
That was my future. You took $86,000 and bought a new face.
You'll figure it out. I needed this.
So Karen figured it out. State school, 3 jobs, and a debt that took 10 years to climb out of. She waitressed nights until her feet bled.
I will not let her win. I will not break.
She took the bus every morning at 6, textbooks in her lap, her classmates oblivious to the double shifts she'd worked the night before. On graduation day, she walked across the stage alone. No one in the audience, just a diploma and a set of teeth gritted so hard they ached.
I'll become a lawyer. I'll make sure no one ever takes anything from me again.
Karen pulled every available complaint against Dr. Joseph Caldwell. 14 thick files stacked across her desk, each one a documented disaster. A pattern emerged. Off-label dermal fillers, unsupervised residents cutting into faces, and each time a quiet settlement, a gag order, a doctor still practicing.
14 complaints. This isn't bad luck. It's a business model.
She cross-referenced court records. Almost every complaint had vanished into arbitration, sealed from public view. But the patterns were undeniable. Then, buried in a subpoenaed server backup, a field name froze her fingers. Hartley L. Medrec.
That's my mother.
The file sat between scanned consent forms and post-op photos, ordinary at a glance. But the modification date was odd, updated 3 years after her discharge.
Why would a routine facelift file be updated years later?
She clicked. The record opened with a slow-loading progress bar revealing surgical notes, a discharge summary, and a flagged incident report that did not belong.
What did you do to her?
The incident report was brief. Patient Linda Hartley, respiratory distress during sedation, reversed with Narcan. Patient unaware. The words patient unaware hung in the air. Linda Hartley had walked out of that clinic with a new face and no idea how close she'd come to cardiac arrest.
He covered it up, just like the other 14. But this one is mine.
She checked the file's metadata. The incident report had been added to the record 3 years after the surgery, likely to conceal it from any future legal review.
If he'd done this to my mother, he'd done it to others. A pattern of concealment.
She printed the note, its yellow sticky paper curling at the edges, and pinned it to the pattern chart on her office wall. Then she called James Bennett. His phone rang twice before he answered, voice thick with sleep.
Karen, it's nearly 1 in the morning. This better be good.
It's not good, James. I found a hidden incident note. My mother almost died on his table because of sedation negligence, and he covered it up. This isn't just a case, it's a weapon.
The next morning, Karen gathered her team in the war room. The pattern chart covered one wall, 14 red pins marking each failed patient.
Elena Vasquez's nerve damage is the tip of the spear. But we'll need a hostile witness to prove he's a repeat offender. I'm calling my mother, Linda Hartley. She was patient number 4 on this list, 10 years ago. She doesn't know about the incident note yet, but when she testifies, she'll be my most powerful piece of evidence.
That afternoon, alone in her office, Karen picked up the phone and dialed a number she'd avoided for years.
Mom, it's Karen. We need to talk. It's about Dr. Joseph.
About him? Karen, I haven't thought about that man in years. He gave me my confidence back. Why would we need to talk?
Because I'm the lead attorney on a malpractice case against him, and you might be called as a witness.
A witness? You're going to drag me into court to destroy the only thing I ever did for myself?
You have no idea what you bought, but you're about to find out.
2 days later, Karen arrived at Linda's condo, a thick file of complaint summaries under her arm. Linda opened the door with a martini in hand.
Come to serve your subpoena yourself, or just to humiliate me in my own home?
I'm here to show you what Dr. Joseph has been doing for over a decade. 14 complaints, Mom. Not 1, not 2. 14.
These are just disgruntled patients. Every surgeon has them. It doesn't mean he's a criminal.
It means he's been settling and sealing cases for years, and I have reason to believe there's more he's still hiding.
You want me to testify against him, to get on a stand and say he's a monster. That's what this is about.
I want you to help me prove a pattern. If you refuse, I will subpoena you. You took my future, Mom. Now I'm asking for yours.
You'd drag your own mother into court and force her to ruin her surgeon after everything I sacrificed for you?
You sacrificed my college fund for your face. That's not sacrifice. That's selfishness. And now you'll do this, or I'll let the court compel you.
Linda said nothing for a long moment. Then she nodded once, a slow, defeated drop of her chin. The rift between them had never been wider. A week later, Karen sat across from Dr. Joseph in a windowless deposition room. A video camera blinked red in the corner.
To demonstrate our client's excellent record, we'd like to enter a file on a long-term satisfied patient, Linda Hartley.
You're entering my mother's medical file as evidence? That's an interesting choice, Mr. Cole.
Your mother? No, this file is simply a satisfied patient. Her results speak for themselves.
Linda Hartley is my mother. And since you've opened this door, I'm formally entering her as a hostile witness for the pattern of conduct claim.
Dr. Joseph's practiced smile vanished. A bead of sweat traced down his temple.
This is inappropriate. I treated her mother a decade ago. There were no complaints.
Then her testimony should be simple, Doctor. Unless there's something in her file you'd prefer she didn't know about.
The defense attorney finally realized his mistake. He'd handed Karen the one witness no jury could ignore. When the deposition ended, Dr. Joseph left without a word, his attorney scrambling to contain the damage. Karen's mother was now the case's centerpiece. 2 days later, Karen summoned her mother to a quiet conference room at the firm. She placed a sealed manila envelope on the polished table between them.
What's this? More complaints you want to shove in my face?
Open it. It's a part of your medical history you've never seen.
Linda pulled out a single yellow sticky note, its ink slightly smudged. As she read, Her breathing stopped.
Respiratory distress, reversed with Narcan. He almost killed me, and I never knew.
You were recorded as patient unaware. He concealed it for years. Now you understand why you're on that witness list.
You kept this from me. You used my almost death as a trap. You're just like him.
No, I'm the lawyer who will finally hold him accountable, and you're gonna help me because you owe me that.
Linda stared at the paper until the words blurred. Then she raised her eyes, and Karen saw something new. Not defeat, but a cold, burning clarity.
I'll testify, but not for you. For the woman who woke up not knowing she almost died.
3 days into trial, Linda Hartley climbed into the witness box. The gallery stilled. Dr. Joseph adjusted his tie. Karen approached the stand slowly, a single yellow document in her hand. I'd like to introduce Plaintiff's Exhibit 19, a concealed incident report.
Proceed, but stay within the scope of the witness's direct knowledge.
Mrs. Hartley, can you read the highlighted section aloud?
Patient Linda Hartley, respiratory distress during sedation, reversed with Narcan, patient unaware. He never told me. You almost killed me, and you let me think you made me beautiful.
The jury box erupted in gasps. Juror 3 put a hand to her mouth. The defense attorney half rose, then sank back.
This note was filed 3 years after her surgery. Hidden. Just like the pattern in 14 other patients.
Every juror stared at the yellow note now displayed on the courtroom screen. The word unaware glowed in harsh white. Judge Marston gavelled for order, but the damage was done. The trial had just become a reckoning. Richard Cole rose for cross-examination, his confidence already crumbling. He gripped the lectern, voice thin.
You're suing my client because your daughter is the lawyer. Isn't this a family grudge dressed up as law?
I didn't come here for her. I came because the man I trusted never told me I almost died.
The jury leaned forward. Cole's next question caught in his throat. He had no answer for raw truth. When court recessed, Linda found Karen in the corridor. Her mascara had dried in tracks down her cheeks.
You used me. You let me believe I was just a satisfied patient until you needed a prop.
I needed the jury to see his pattern. You were the only witness who could prove he concealed negligence.
And when this is over, what's left? A daughter who sees me as a weapon, not a mother.
Karen opened her mouth to argue, but the words lodged in her throat. Linda's accusation hit something too deep. They stood in the cold, the distance between them wider than the courthouse steps. The trial would go on, but something between them had fractured that might never mend. That evening, Karen knocked on Linda's door. No martini this time. Linda opened it with red-rimmed eyes and led her to the kitchen table.
I keep replaying it. I spent $86,000 on a man who almost killed me, and I called it self-care.
You never asked if I was okay. You just told me to figure it out.
I know. I was selfish. I convinced myself you'd be fine. I needed to feel beautiful more than I wanted you to have a future.
Karen's fingers tightened around her water glass. The confession she'd waited a decade for, and it didn't heal anything.
I became a lawyer because of you. Every late night, every case, I was trying to prove I wasn't worthless.
You were never worthless. I was.
They sat in the silence that follows an earthquake. No hug, no promises, but something between them had shifted. When Karen finally left, Linda didn't beg her to stay. She just whispered goodnight to an empty room. The trial resumed. Expert after expert described off-label fillers, unsupervised residents cutting delicate nerves. They revealed that Dr. Joseph used unapproved products in over half his procedures, without patient knowledge.
Your own records prove a pattern. No one admitted what they were really injecting.
Then Elena Vasquez approached the stand. Her right hand wouldn't fully open, the wedding ring a stark reminder.
I can't brush my daughter's hair. She draws me with a smile I don't have.
The jury leaned forward. Elena tried to smile. Only the left side responded. Juror 4 pressed a tissue to her eyes.
The nerve damage is permanent? They said it won't heal. I'll never smile again.
The defense's expert conceded the procedures fell below standard. Their case was collapsing. Karen rested her case. The trial now hung on what the jury believed. The defense opened by targeting Linda. Richard Cole called her a disgruntled former patient, jealous of her daughter's success.
Her testimony is a family feud dressed up as medical evidence. She blames my client for her own narcissism.
But each time Cole gestured, the yellow incident note pinned to the evidence board caught the light, a silent rebuttal. During a recess, James Bennett pulled Karen aside in the corridor. His voice was low, burdened.
They're offering $500,000 to settle, Karen. It's not a win, but it's a fast, clean exit.
He's buying his way out of a pattern. I didn't work through state school to let him write a check.
If the jury doesn't buy the pattern, you get nothing. Elena gets nothing.
Then Elena gets nothing on my watch. But I won't let him settle and keep his license. This is about more than money.
She walked back into the courtroom and formally rejected the offer. The trial would go to the jury. Dr. Joseph's face went slack when he heard. His lawyer had nothing left. The gamble was now entirely in the jury's hands. Closing arguments began. Karen rose from the plaintiff's table and faced the jury. 14 manila folders stood stacked behind her.
This case is not about one surgery gone wrong. It's about 14 patients who trusted a man who cut corners, then covered his tracks. Elena Vasquez can't smile at her child. My own mother almost died and was never told. The pattern is undeniable.
She held up the yellow incident note, the same one that had been concealed for years. The jury leaned forward as one.
The plaintiff's story is tragic, but a bad outcome is not malpractice. Surgeries carry risk.
But Cole never mentioned the 14 complaints. The word pattern hung unspoken, and the jury noticed.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have heard the evidence. Now you must decide whether the defendant's actions fell below the standard of care.
The jury rose and filed out. Karen sat, her hands suddenly shaking. Across the aisle, Linda met her eyes for a long, silent moment. The waiting began. Hours of nothing but the ticking clock and the quiet terror of a gamble that could strip Elena of everything.
If they don't find him liable, I've lost more than a case. I've lost my reason for becoming a lawyer.
An hour into deliberation, Linda sat down on the bench beside Karen. Neither said a word for a long time.
I see you now, not my daughter, not my lawyer, just a woman who survived me.
It took almost losing a trial for you to say that.
I know. I wasted a lot of time being afraid of mirrors. I didn't see you were the one thing I should have been proud of.
Karen didn't answer. She just let the silence sit, unbroken, like a truce too fragile for words.
It's a start.
They sat together as the minutes stretched. Not mother and daughter, not lawyer and witness, just two people sharing the weight. Then the courtroom door creaked open, and a bailiff stepped out. The jury had reached a verdict. Karen straightened her blazer. Linda's hand hovered, almost reaching, then pulled back. They walked in together, no longer separate. The jury filed back into the box. The foreman held a folded paper. Karen's pulse hammered in her throat. The foreman's voice cut through the silence. On the charge of medical malpractice, we find the defendant, Dr. Joseph Caldwell, liable. We award the plaintiff $4.2 million in damages. The number landed like a thunderclap. Elena Vasquez let out a sob that was half scream, half prayer, her daughter buried against her side. Dr. Joseph's legs gave out. He dropped into his chair, ashen, his license already dead in his mind. Karen exhaled for what felt like the first time in months. Her hands stopped shaking. Across the aisle, Linda caught her eye. No words, just a slow nod acknowledgement, not forgiveness. The gavel banged. The courtroom erupted, but Karen barely heard it. She was still somewhere between the past and this moment. Outside, reporters swarmed Dr. Joseph. He shielded his face, a fallen king whose crown was a surgical mask.
The ledger was balanced, at least in law.
Weeks after the verdict, Linda Hartley filed her own claim for the near-overdose concealment. The settlement came quickly, $310,000. She placed the entire sum into an irrevocable college trust for Karen's future children.
You said it was urgent. What's this about?
Sit down. I have something to show you. This closes the ledger. Not between us, that's still broken, but between what I took and what I can give back.
She didn't spend a cent. It took 10 years for her to see the price, but she finally did. This is more than I expected.
It's a start. Like you said.
They didn't embrace. The distance between them remained real. But on the table, the trust document lay like a white flag neither had to wave. They drove to a park afterward, sat on the same bench where Karen had cried at 18. Silence, not cruelty. The ledger was closed. Not healed, but settled. A week later, Karen found Linda at a quiet coffee shop in Santa Monica. 2 lattes, no agenda.
Do you hate me? After everything. The trial, the note, the college fund. Be honest.
I used to. For years, I blamed you for every late shift, every loan payment. But now, I just don't have the energy for that anger.
I spent 10 years pretending I'd done nothing wrong. That blindness almost killed me.
The trust doesn't fix it. But it's the first time you thought about my future, not your reflection.
I should have been thinking about your future the whole time. Instead, I was terrified of looking old.
Karen's cup stopped halfway to her lips. The admission landed like a stone in still water.
We can't rewrite the past, but maybe we can stop being strangers.
They stayed until the cups were empty, the silence no longer a weapon. When they parted, it wasn't with a hug, but they scheduled another coffee. A wary friendship had begun. That evening, Karen returned to her office alone. The city lights glittered beyond the window, distant and indifferent.
The Joseph file still sat on my desk, but it no longer felt like an accusation.
She lifted it, carried it to the shelf, and set it upright next to her bar license.
2 pieces of paper. One ended a career, the other began one.
The trust document rested in a drawer beneath, signed and sealed, a bridge she hadn't asked for but had accepted.
She likely wouldn't need it for years, if ever, but the gesture had mattered.
She stood at the window, her silhouette sharp against the glow. 10 years of anger had finally run out of fuel.
For a decade I've been fighting ghosts. Now they're just memories.
A slight smile tugged at her mouth, not of warmth, but of release. The ledger was truly closed. She turned off the lamp, and the file on the shelf caught the last dim light before darkness. 1 year later, Karen stood in her new office, a junior partner plaque glinting under the ceiling light. The firm had thrown a small celebration. A photo from that evening now sat on her desk. Karen and Linda, glasses raised, shoulders almost touching.
We hadn't healed, but we'd learned to stand in the same frame.
Linda had come. She'd worn a blue dress and stayed until the end. On Karen's desk, among the cards and flowers, a new case file had arrived that morning.
Another surgeon? Another pattern? But the weight was different now.
She opened it without the old clench in her stomach. This was work, not war. Next to the file, the Joseph folder sat quietly on the shelf. A closed chapter.
I'm not the girl who had to claw her way out anymore. I'm the one who can let go.
Outside, the city hummed on. Inside, Karen Hartley, junior partner, allowed herself a steady breath. That evening, the office fell silent. Karen closed the new file and leaned back in her chair.
The work was still there, but the old edge was gone.
Her eyes drifted to the shelf. The Joseph file sat motionless next to the bar license.
2 symbols of who I became. Both earned.
In the drawer below, the trust document rested, a promise she might never need but kept. She rose, clicked off the desk lamp. The room dimmed to the city's orange glow. Karen slipped on her coat and paused at the door. Behind her, the shelf held the last glimmer of light. The closed file and the license stood side by side, 2 pieces of paper that rewrote her life.
The ledger was settled. The future was open.
Then the door clicked shut, and the shelf slipped into darkness.